showed me the value of the assessments when paired with specific context. My coach did a great job in explaining the scales and where, when to leverage strengths and mitigate challenges. The Hogan Leadership Coaching was a gift that I can take with me wherever I go, so thank you for that. I especially appreciated how the coach tied the 3 different reports together and how they played off one another. And then this one, I think, really takes the cake. Very insightful experience. I wish I had experienced this much earlier in my financial services career. God knows how much more I could have accomplished and problems I could have avoided. Now, I mean, that really says it all. So, you folks are helping people. I think you'll see that one of the things these have in common is that these people did have some takeaways. These were some of the sessions where you probably did have time to get in a few tangible things of what do I do when I hang up the phone. So keep up the great work on that. And then last night I was teasing Tom Patterson.
And Scott Bradley happened to be there, and
I was telling him the story about
Tom Patterson is wonderful. I want to marry him. Okay, so what else have we been up to? I have this terrible habit of, I haven't seen somebody in a long time, say, oh, what have you been up to? I say, nothing. Well, the ACN has been up to something, let me tell you. We've been up to a lot of things. We've had, since we met in May 2016, we've had 10 quarterly conference calls since then. And these are the subjects of our conference calls. And you can see that of these, 5 of them related to new reports that have been issued. So we've covered new reports, we've done technical training, we've had updates on research. When Scott was promoted to CEO, he gave us his vision for Hogan and the values. So we covered just a gamut. We ranged the gamut on these calls. But they continue to be well attended, and people who can't attend are accessing the videos. So we're going to continue with those. Our next one is in December, and Michael Sanger will be joining us to talk about the new global norms. So that's one you don't want to miss. In addition, the areas of focus, these are the things that we've accomplished. We revised the survey questions, the questions that I just showed you, the highest and lowest. We tweaked those a little bit. We created that searchable database, and you all filled out spreadsheets of what your areas of expertise were, so the customer can now log onto the website and click on a geography or click on an industry or a level of management, and the coaches who have sent in their data will propagate as someone who handles that. So it's a searchable database. Now, this is your all-time favorite, the third one. We've updated the coach's policy manual. I know that you sleep with that under your pillow. When I was updating, I thought, why do I even do this? Nobody even looks at it. But Warren reminded me last night that he does indeed look at the coach's policy manual. If you ever have a question, look in the manual first. But it has all sorts of handy-dandy things about billing and about invoice creation and the coaching system. Y'all revised your bios. We introduced the extended coaching offers, and this is something we've worked on for a long time, and then Audrey picked up the ball on it and actually kind of categorized it for us. But we now have extended coaching offers for 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, onboarding coaching, high potential coaching, and the sales force has just done a remarkable job of selling this. We used to have maybe 2 or 3 extended coaching sessions a year, and it would be with J&J or Young, some big client that we were very connected to. And now we're selling it widely. So more to follow on that, because we'll be enlisting your help with these extended coaching initiatives. We've revised the Chris Maloney role play. Chris is now Jamie Jensen, and we've done that several times. I'm having just as much fun playing Jamie as I did Chris. We've introduced some coaching system enhancements, and particularly around the no-show button and the late cancellation button. So I'm sure those of you who use the system a lot are happy with those enhancements. We've continued honing our skills on the HCS subscales, and this last bullet we just talked about, we're continuing to emphasize development actions in the feedback session so that the participant can walk away with some concrete things to do. So, what are we doing here? What are our objectives here? Well, I already talked about being agile, so that is definitely our theme. We want to become more agile. We also want to understand the latest and greatest in Hogan endeavors. And we're really fortunate that Bob Hogan is going to be with us twice. Just as soon as I'm through, he will talk to us about absentee leadership, which is a new topic for Hogan that you'll be seeing more and more about in the news. And also this afternoon at 1 o'clock, he'll be talking about humility, which is getting a lot of press as well. So those are two kind of leading edge topics at Hogan and in the world that you see articles on. So we want to do that. As I said, we want to be more agile. We want to enhance our ability to apply the Hogan instruments. And so this year we've got coaches, your own people, your peers are going to be presenting on how they have applied the Hogan instruments in their practices. Mike Lindemann is going to partner with Aaron. Aaron's in the back from Aaron Laxon. They're going to talk about the team report and the group report. So you'll hear from them. Rajita was supposed to come from India to talk about the high potential report, because they've done a lot more with the high potential report in India than anywhere else in the world. And unfortunately, she has a terrible cervical spine neck problem and can't fly, much less internationally. So she's not going to be with us. But that was on the agenda, to learn how to apply the high potential report. And then tomorrow, Kevin Asbjørnsen is going to talk about global coaching, which will be really, really interesting. And then Amy Rowe will talk about her use of HPI case studies. In fact, I thought this was very clever. We're calling it casing the HPI. Now, she came up with that, I didn't. But it's an alternative to, we all use the histogram a lot, or we all do other things with the HPI. This is a different way in a group to introduce the HPI. So you'll hear from your own, and you'll hear about applying the instruments. Okay, so and then of course an opportunity to interact with each other and with the Hogan staff. And then I would be very remiss if I did not thank the project managers who helped us so much. And I wonder if any of them are I see Amy Renshaw's back there. Who else is back there? And Jesse's there. Okay. So the people that you see the most emails from, that you deal with the most, are of course Taylor and Leah, because they do the certification workshops, and we do so much certification. They are not here, so we need to thank them in absentia. Amy Renshaw is here. So Amy, a big thank you and a big shout out to you. And Amy has just been promoted. She's moving on to a new job, so I just don't know what we're going to do without her. She promises me that she will train her replacement and be there to help them and to help you. Megan, Megan told me she's in Tulsa.
Amy and Megan are both here, but they had time calls this morning.
Yeah, I think Megan said she had a call to Dale or something. But anyway, they're out with doing customer work. So Kaylee and Megan, and then Jessie is here. So big shout out to Jessie. We absolutely could not have done it without them. Okay, so with that, I'll be back at the end of the day to give you instructions about the trolley over to the Hogan building and what we're doing tonight. So enjoy, and have fun, as you always do. Bob Hogan is next with absentee leadership. Oh, and you'll notice in your manuals, the presentations are in your manuals, and if you don't have a presentation, you've got a slip sheet that says who the presenter is, so you can take those on the slip sheet. And we'll also give you a flash drive with the presentations digitally.
I think the machine is out of control. Can anyone dial in?
Machine's out of control again.
I did too. I know I did. Oh, that's the middle of the talk.
Oh, sorry.
I like to start at the beginning.
Oh, okay. Close your eyes so you don't see everything.
Yeah. Well, this thing is, can you all hear me now? We're dealing with the technology at the moment. Okay, I think I figured this out. Nope, I didn't figure it out. Nope, it's running away from me. There we go. Thanks. Morning, everyone. Thanks so much for coming. What I wanted to do this morning was actually try to put some of this into context. That is to say, I was never part of the Hogan Coaching Network. I'm not even any good at giving people feedback. So this Trish Kellett, her colleagues developed this, and I think the first time I attended one of these meetings was 3 years ago. So I really have only come to this party. As a result, I only know maybe half the people in the room. Some less. So what I wanted to do was talk about really provide some context regarding how all this got going. Where we actually started was it was the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which made discrimination and employment illegal. Then in 1973, the EEOC was implemented, put in place as an enforcement mechanism for the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And what happened, if you ask old psychologists back in the day, how to hire people, and they said there's just one dimension that matters, and that's IQ. I knew all those old IQ guys. They really were racists, and they really did believe that more IQ was better for everything, and that B, the differences that you get in IQ scores are real and biological. Anyway, they were wrong. So in 1973. The EEOC sued AT&T. It was the largest labor lawsuit in the history of America. It was $200 million. They sued them for their discriminatory hiring practices. They were using IQ tests to avoid hiring minorities. And we had been struggling away, and we knew some folks here and there, to show that personality predicted occupational performance as well as IQ, actually better, but it doesn't discriminate. So then boom, that created a job opportunity for us. The Justice Department would sue people, companies, and say, if you see the Hogans, we'll let you go. So we started as a contract research organization, doing research in organizations showing that these tests work and predicted occupational performance better than IQ. If you use us, you can do things right, and it was also a service to civil rights, social justice. I actually felt really good about what we did back in the day, and I still hate the IQ Nazis, and I'm still fighting with them. So we started as a contract research organization, and for years we sold research and gave away tests. And at one point, I don't know, probably in the middle 1980s, I said, I'm not sure that's the world's greatest business model. Why don't we give away research and sell tests? And so we've been giving away research and selling tests since then. So, boink. Nope, I'm still not doing this right now, am I? I have no clue. There we go. What do you think? So this is what we do. So we provide research-based assessments for talent management. That's what we do. We have performance data for every job in the U.S. and European economies, and increasingly data for jobs in the Asian economies. Our off-the-shelf assessments solve the problems that are common to organizations, and hypo-identification. And these problems all have some. There's not another. We don't ever need to do another study of sales performance. We know all there is to know about sales guys. We know all there is to know about management. So our research then concerns customized adaptations and solving unique problems that come up along the way. And we're currently studying absentee leadership, which is the topic of this talk. And I should say, it's full disclosure, I'm a recovering academic. I regret every minute I spent as an academic, but I do believe in the values which they don't hold to themselves, which is data, ideas, and good research. That the life of the mind doesn't exist in the groves of academia. They just do politics all day long and political correctness. So here, I think these are I really believe this. These are our 4 key contributions. We did this. That is, in 1980, prior to 1980, the first 13 papers I sent for publication, and in the academic world, it really is publish and perish. You can't publish and perish. First 13 papers I sent out for publication were rejected out of hand. They wouldn't even review them because they said they were all papers showing personality predicted this or that or the other thing. They wouldn't even review the papers. They said everyone knows these tests don't work. So we were the people in 1980. We finally made a breakthrough. We showed that personality predicts occupational performance. No one believed that prior to 1980. So we were the ones who put that claim on the table, and I'm proud of that. Now, lots of other people have subsequently taken credit for that, but it really was us. And then I've been interested in leadership my whole life, and it wasn't until the early 1980s I had an opportunity to actually study leadership. And what I discovered in 1982, when I really did a traditional deep dive into leadership literature, what I discovered was that no one thought anything was the case. That is to say, the point of view in the 1980s was situational leadership. I call it the shit happens theory of leadership. If you're in charge and good things happen, you got lucky. If you're in charge and bad things happen, you got unlucky. We made the case that leadership has financial consequences. That there are certain kinds of people give you better financial results than other kinds of people. And we made the case that leadership was a consequential phenomenon. So we showed that personality predicts occupational performance. We showed that leadership matters. We did that. Lots of other people take credit for it now, but we did. And then in 2000, we made the case, finally breakthrough, that personality predicts good and bad leadership. This is a direct consequence at this point, right? We showed that personality predicts performance is later. Who you are determines how you lead. You got the wrong personality, you're going to not do so well. And then I thought, from my point of view, the thing I'm proudest of was, in 2005, we made the case, empirically, that 65 to 75% of people in managerial positions, public and private sector in the U.S., 65 to 75% of the managers are incompetent. Not just incompetent, they're driving people crazy. And I apologize for repeating this, for some of you who've heard this before, but it was about 2004, I was at a PSYOP thing. It was me and there was a room of about 350 people just lying, people sitting, standing, standing room only. And I said, it was all suits, suits. And I said, what do you folks say? I said, guess what the base rate, estimate the base rate of managerial incompetence in corporate America. Just make a guess. So the person over here said 2%. The person over here said 4%. Brave soul over here said 6%. And I said, what would you say? This is 350 people. I said, what would you say if I told you the base rate of managerial incompetence in corporate America is 65 to 75%? And they went, ooh, like I mean, ooh, and there was hands going, ooh, and there was a palpable wave of air, ooh, and they were just, and I said, you're a bunch of whores. I mean, because they're telling companies what they want to hear. They weren't telling them the truth. They're you. The people in this organization are fabulous. They're all Hall of Famers. You're wonderful. You're gilded. You're golden. No, most of them are driving their steps crazy. So we made this case, and I'm really proud of that. And then I don't know that we can take credit for this, so I'm not quite sure I meant to say that. Okay, so success in business. We are dramatized. There's a guy named Fred Luthans made the case that you have to distinguish between emergence and effectiveness. But he didn't dramatize it. And we've been sort of pounding that message subsequent to that. I think we're we're leading the charge on the importance of distinguishing between emergence and effectiveness. But I don't know if we made the case officially. Success in business means making good decisions about people, money and people. Our assessment, we don't know about money, but we know lots and lots about people. So we let people make database decisions about people. Making intuitive decisions, based on interviews is a random walk, and you just do a lot more. So, so all the point I wanted to make here, all managers are in leadership roles. Not all managers are good leaders. Nonetheless, if you're in the role of a manager, people see you as a leader, and they will think of you as a leader, and they have expectations regarding your performance. And that's what I wanted to make there. So, good leadership creates staff engagement. It's not about the leader, it's about staff engagement. Quantitative measures of staff engagement predict every outcome of significance in organizational life. Every outcome. Measures of engagement predict everything. So, staff engagement, the higher level of staff engagement, lower the absenteeism, the lower the turnover, the higher the productivity, the higher the customer service ratings. The lower the staff engagement, the higher the turnover, the higher the absenteeism, the lower the productivity, and the lower the customer service ratings. So, high levels of engagement create positive business results, and the low levels of engagement predict negative business results. Bad management is what destroys staff engagement. That's where the toxic effects occur at the level of alienating the staff. You all with me? So that's the consequence of bad management is it drives the staff nuts. Okay, so I love this. It's the original fractal distribution of performance. It's Pareto's law. It applies to absolutely everything. So what he initially showed was that 20% of Italian families own 80% of the property in Italy. And of course 80% of the families own 20. Well, but I think you can apply it to anything. So 20% of your managers will be creating 80% of the productivity in the organization. 20% of your sales force will be bringing in 80% of the sales. And 80% of your managers will be creating 20% of the sales. 80% of your sales guys will be bringing in 20%. So that's just a law. You can depend on that. So what we're trying to do, we're all about trying to make organizations more efficient. I am. It's less about individual welfare and money. If the organization succeeds, you're going to make out. If you're making out, you may very well be profiting at the expense of the organization. So we prioritize organizational effectiveness over individual welfare, and we're trying to aim at this 20% that are causing most of the problems. So it's geez, oh, whizzo. This thing doesn't like me. I can do this. Okay, so we spend all our time talking about bad ones because that's mostly what you get. But these are the characteristics. There are really sort of 6 characteristics of highly effective leaders. This is the good news, and you can book this. The first thing, the most important thing leaders have to have, the most important thing is integrity. And people are really sensitive to that. They're watching constantly to see if there's a discrepancy between what you're saying and what you're doing. And if they detect that you've got a problem with integrity, you're done as a leader. So my favorite example is Slip Willie, Bill Clinton, who was having an affair with an underage person in the White House. The word got around, his wife challenged him on it. He said it wasn't true. She went public and defended it. It turned out to be true. She subsequently confronts him about his lying. He says, "Why did you lie to me? If you're going to lie to your wife, who are you not going to lie to?" Seriously. Okay, she says, "Why did you lie to me?" He says, "Oh, honey, you know I've always been a liar." So he was not a leader. He was a lying politician. He was a liar. Everyone knew he was a liar. His credibility as a leader was gone. No one worked for him because they saw him as having talent. They worked for him because they thought it'd be good for his career. Everyone knew he was a liar. He couldn't be depended on. He's done. His credibility as a leader is shot. Okay? So, first thing you want to see is, can you be trusted? Second thing, sorry. Damn. Jesus, this thing really doesn't hate me. It hates me. It just hates me. How do I make her stop? The other way? I don't think so. Nope. I promise you I'm not doing anything to this. It's just fighting me back.
We'll get there.
You're hitting a different button than I was hitting.
There we go.
There you go.
This one's back. That one's forward.
Okay, no matter what you do.
That's right.
Okay, so first thing they want to know is can you be trusted? Second thing they want to know is do you know what you're talking about? Like literally, do you have any confidence? And why does that matter? This is huge. It's because all day long people are, if you're in charge, people will be coming to you all day long asking for advice about how to do this, how to do that, how to do the other thing. And if you don't know what you're talking about, you're not any help. The reason Bill Belichick is so successful with the New England Patriots is he just knows more about football than anybody else. And he just knows it all. He's just better at the game there. Okay, so my poster boy here would be Barack Obama, who was good at getting elected but had no clue as to what. He had never done anything in his life. He'd been a community organizer and a college professor. He had no clue about how to run anything. And as a result, he just sat in his office and read. And so on the job, and as a result, he's going to go down in history as a very mediocre leader. Third thing, so can you be trusted? Do you know what you're talking about? This is the Potter. This right here has to do with the cult of the MBA, which I really like. The notion is in the 1970s to develop this degree called MBA. If you have an MBA, you have formal knowledge of leadership principles, formal knowledge of management principles, and you can apply them whether you're working in the trash hauling business or in high finance. The lessons are all the same. Turns out that's just wrong. You have to understand the business at the level of the shop floor or you're not credible. So, can you be trusted? Do you know what you're talking about? And then do you make good decisions? And the staff are watching you. They're watching you all the time to see what kind of decisions you make. And the definition of a good decision is you're going to data show 50% of all business decisions are wrong. You can't, in principle, get it right. Good judgment comes from not from getting it right. Good judgment comes from saying, that was a mistake, I need to go back and revisit this. Good judgment is about being willing to admit that you made a bad decision and then correct it. And how important is this? My favorite example of this one is the Vietnam War. Lots of people got sent, the U.S. got sent in the Army who had no business being in the Army. And something like 2,000 junior officers were killed by their own troops during the Vietnam War, yes, because the troops knew the officer was going to get killed. Because the officer had bad judgment, and it's him or me, right? So they would go to the latrine and someone would roll a hand grenade in, and boom. So people really care. If you're in charge, people care about the kind of decisions you make. And then finally, can you say something to them about why they're doing this? Why it makes sense? Why So those are the characteristics of people. Why this is leadership good leadership from the point of view of the subordinate. This is what it looks like from the consumer of leadership. Can he be trusted? Can she be trusted? Does she know what she's talking about? Does she make good decisions? And does all this make sense, or is she just making money for herself? Now, so people expect it. Now, in that great, really deservedly famous book called Good to Great, Collins rediscovers this. He doesn't know he rediscovered this, but there are two more characteristics of really effective, high-powered CEOs. The first is that they're quite humble. I'll talk about this later. As you say, they're understated. They listen to their subordinates, and they know how to delegate, and they're really fiercely competitive. They want to win. So you got to want to win, or you're not going to get anywhere. Okay, so these are the characteristics of effective leadership. I'm just going to watch me now. I'm just going to check that in. Okay. So employees know what good leadership looks like, and they resent managers who don't match the prototype. And the numbers are just wonderful. 65% of the U.S. workforce say that the worst and most stressful aspect of their life, everyday life, is their immediate boss. 70%, these are real data, 70% of the U.S. workforce say they would take a pay cut if someone would fire their boss. And in Baltimore, where Bob Swindler and I used to live, 20% of the Baltimore workforce say they actively fantasize about killing their boss every day. You see the implication of the number? Now, what is it that drives firm performance? Staff engagement. Somewhere between 60 and 70% of employees everywhere are seriously disengaged. Okay, what's this? Okay, so we know that managers typically get fired for one of 11 reasons. Those are the 11 scales of the HDS. So we know all about that. So these include, well, you know what they include: being deceitful, being a micromanager, being a bully, being not supporting people. So we capture that with the HDS. These tendencies are easily observed. People with high, elevated profile, so they just stand out. When you walk in the room, you know you're dealing with a narcissist, and you know you shake hands with them, you know you're dealing with a psychopath. So these tendencies are easily observed because they stand out. That's the whole point about it. That's kind of why they got there. But absentee leaders are really hard to detect. And this is the message of today. This is the derailers are obvious. Absentee leaders are really hard to catch. Their bosses like them because they don't cause any problems. My favorites, they fly below the organizational radar deliberately. They just stay out of trouble. They don't want you to do anything because that'll come. So they just no. And if you complain, I'm not having any problem. My favorite story here is the dean of the business school at the University of Virginia. Bob Smith knows this one. I know this about this person. So the two high-powered guys in the economics department called the provost and said, the dean of the business school at the University of Virginia is a bum, he's useless, he's terrible, you need to get rid of him, he's running the organization. And the provost said, I got a dean of engineering who's a drunk, I got a dean of arts and sciences who's up on sexual harassment charges, I got a dean of nursing who's doing drugs. He said, I'm not having any problems with your guy, the dean of the business, I'm not having any problems, you deal with it. So that weekend, they had a fundraiser, the business school had a fundraiser in Monticello, Jefferson's little house. So there's a table full of high rollers, and the business team was leading, it's a fundraiser, the business team was leading, he got roaring drunk. In the middle of dinner, he stood up and peed in his plate. He really did. I love that image of mashed potatoes flying in the air, carrots. And, so he was fired. Because he didn't stay below the radar line. So, because no one ever sees them, they stay on the job for a really long time. And so what if they stay on the job, right? So the concept of laissez-faire management has been around for a long time. Bass and Awolio talked about it way back in the dark ages. Laissez-faire management, just let the subordinates do what they want and stay out of their way. Absentee leadership is a special case of laissez-faire leadership. They're in the leadership roles, but they just don't ever do anything. So there's no active positive leadership. There's no actively destructive leadership. They're just there in their office reading. Obama in the office with the door shut, reading, and they're just out of sight, out of mind. Inactive, inattentive, uninvolved, but avoiding taking a stand on anything also has its negative consequences, which is what the followers see, what the subordinates see is no decisions never get made, wait, I'll get back to you on that. No feedback or any other communication, how you're doing, what you're doing wrong, what you're doing right. No efforts to motivate anybody, just, I sit in my office and read and you take care of business. Lack of interest in the subordinate's performance, and no teamwork. And so here are a couple of examples. This guy, Tony Hsieh, is the founder of Zappos, and in 2015 he decided he was going to eliminate all managers in his organization to achieve a state of what he called TEAL, T-E-A-L. It was a new theory of management that he had developed, which was no managers and no manager management. And as a result, the company has been going downhill steadily since the day he put that. Massive departures at the top. And then this guy, Jimmy Kane, he was the CEO of Bear Stearns during the 2008 financial crisis. And for the 10 central days in that crisis, he was in Las Vegas playing bridge. but that was not unusual. He spent most of his time playing bridge or playing golf. He was just basically never there, and he never saw it when it happened. And he thought it wasn't his fault because they never did. So this is a Harris 2015 Harris poll, 1,000 employees. What is it? The question is, what is it that keeps your boss from being effective? That you're asking the staff. What is it that keeps your boss from being effective? 63% of them said, never receiving any recognition for my work. 57% of them said, we never get any directions. 52% of them said, she never meets with us. There were no meetings with the subordinates. 51% said, she refuses to talk to us. 47% said what keeps a boss from being incompetent, he takes credit for our ideas. 39% said we never get any constructive criticism or feedback. 36% said he doesn't even know my name, or she, let's say she. And then 23% said he has absolutely no interest in what I do outside. By the way, at the risk of finishing annoying everybody in the room, I always say he, but the base rate of incompetence from lady managers is the same. They're the same number of bad lady managers as are male managers. They differ in that the male managers specialize in bullying, whereas as the University of Minnesota study showed, female managers destroy your basic humanity because they're more sophisticated. They know how to read the Okay, and the Norwegians actually, it's University of Bergen in Norway. I went once. They're the guys that really sort of pioneered this research. I mean, everybody's just sort of standing on their shoulders, but they're not, make a lot of noise. 60% of the employees in this organization, and across all their samples, these are Norwegian businesses, 60% of employees report experiencing frequent destructive, so across the world, it's about the average, right? It's about 60 to 70%. 6% said experiencing frequent destructive leadership. Now, of those who were experiencing destructive leadership, 4% said they were being bullied. 12% said the manager would suck up to them and betray the organization. About 9% said the guy was just completely incompetent, but 21% said they were experiencing laissez-faire leadership, which means to say that in this study, and what you'll find, because this will be easily replicated, is that the most frequently experienced kind of destructive leadership is absentee leadership. It's the most frequently occurring kind. Okay, that's a long way of making that. You understand what I'm saying? The base rate of this is actually quite high. It's the most common kind of bad leadership. Not the stuff that you get off the HDS. It's that absentee leadership is the most frequently experienced. Okay. And then this is I should say I'm stealing most of these slides from Scott Gregory. He put this together. I just stole his stuff. Sorry, Scott.
You're welcome.
So this is a really cool study. So it's what kind of leadership you got, and then what are the effects of that over time. So if the leadership's constructive, it impacts job satisfaction at the time that you do the study, but 6 months, 2 years later, there's no impact. Just right, it's good. Simultaneously, she's treating me well, I'm engaged, but that doesn't. Okay, tyrannical leadership drives job satisfaction down at time 1, drives job satisfaction down at time 2, but 2 years later, you forget about it. Because that's everybody's experience. I mean, everyone in the world, every employed adult reports having spent some significant time working for an intolerable boss. Not bad, but intolerable. That's everyone's fate. But absentee leadership doesn't impact job satisfaction at the time of but 6 months later and 2 years later, it's still negatively impacted. So it's not only the most frequently occurring kind of bad leadership, it's also the most enduring and perduring in its effects. Y'all see that? Okay. So what do you get? Well, I have another study here that's not on my slide. So this is a work in progress. So Gallup research, study of 1,000 employees. They asked them 3 questions. First question, my supervisor focuses on my strengths. Yes, no. Second question, my supervisor focuses on my weaknesses. Yes, no. Third question, my supervisor ignores me. Yes, no. Okay? Now, 37% of the sample endorsed the first question, my supervisor focuses on my strengths, and that yielded 61% engagement rate and 1% disengagement. You got that? So your supervisor focuses on your strengths, people like it, they're engaged, involved. Second question was, my supervisor focuses on my weaknesses. 11% of the sample said, yes, my supervisor focuses on my weaknesses. That yielded a 45% engagement rate and a 22% disengagement rate. Okay, so that was, but at least if he's focusing on my weaknesses, he's paying attention to them. Right? And then the third one was, my supervisor ignores me. 25% of the sample said, yes, my supervisor ignores me. That yielded a 2% engagement rate and a 40% disengagement rate. So to be ignoring the staff yields a higher level of disengagement than actively abusing them. So when I started my So I'm a retired naval officer. I didn't know what I was gonna do when I got out of the Navy. And I took a job as a probation officer in East Los Angeles, and I worked with delinquents for about a year. And that's when I decided I'd get into psychology. And one of the things I figured out early on was so I visit kids from like 2, 3, or 4 years old. I mean, they started getting in trouble before they even get to school, all the way up to, I think, 16 was the cutoff. But what I figured out was in all the cases that I had personal, I visited the home and watched the interaction between the mother and the kids, was these kids would get in trouble just to get paid attention to. And they would even come in and say, I just broke the goldfish bowl. Just, and then your face would light up because they're going to, okay. So what you get with no involvement is you get role ambiguity. Who's in charge of, who's doing what am I supposed to be doing, what are the limits? The conflicts with coworkers get ignored. You guys work this out yourselves. Bullying, that gets tolerated because there's nobody around. And you get a crappy safety climate, and that leads to stress. So, and I think Mike actually know a lot about stress. I wrote a paper for NSF back in the day. What makes you sick is already there. It's already got you, whatever it is. What varies is not the onslaught of pathogens. What varies is the strength of your integrity of your immune system. Your immune system is functional, but stress shuts off your immune system. When you get into stress, in the history of the species, stress was short-lived. Either the tiger ate you or it didn't. Either the python ate you or it didn't. Either the Mohicans scalped you or they didn't. So I mean, the threat came up and was resolved quickly. So stress, perceived stress, the flight syndrome, it shuts down all this stuff, gets you ready for violent action. One of the things that happens is it shuts down your immune system because you don't need it. It's the same thing if you're trying to get away from the bad guys in your car, you can turn off the air conditioning, right? Because you don't need the air conditioner if they get you. So, but what happens in the modern world is the stress goes on and on. It's not the tiger that gets you. Your boss comes to work every day threatening to fire you. Day after day after day, and your immune system shut down day after day after day. Pretty soon, something gets you. That's what. So the principal cause of disease is stress, and the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta say the principal cause of stress in everyday life is bad management. So bad management is actually a public health crisis. Okay, so job satisfaction and performance correlate about 0.3. Job satisfaction and turnover correlate about -0.4. Job satisfaction and organizational commitment correlate about 0.5. Low job satisfaction and costs tons and tons of money, and what's driving low job satisfaction? Absentee leadership. So organizations that paid attention to this would do a lot better. So I did a back before I moved to Florida, so it's about 2007, sometime right around 2000. Oklahoma Natural Gas, not ONG. I always thought it was a Chinese architectural firm. ONG. They called us up. They were getting ready to go private. They were going to sell themselves. They were going to sell themselves. The top guys at ONG were all Harvard MBAs. They were smart guys. And each year, for 3 years, they had done a climate survey. And each year, for 3 years, they got the same crappy results. And they were really upset because these guys were enlightened. I know they're sharp guys. They really were Harvard MBAs. This is what, and so they hired a local firm to help them with their employee engagement problem. And they were, as always, they wanted to focus on the C-suite. And I studied their data, and I thought about it, I said, I know what the problem is here. It's your long-serving first-line supervisors that are driving the staff crazy. C-suite's fairly enlightened. It's those guys that have been on the job for 25 and 30 years that are killing you. And they just wait, they think this is a fad, and you guys will go away, and somebody else will be there, and they'll just keep on doing what they're doing. So, anyway, that's absentee leadership, but where it really affects you is down here. It's hard to get organizations to pay attention because they want to do entertainment for the C-suite. That's what the leadership interventions are all about. It's keeping those guys entertained. So they don't give a shit about making the organization run better as long as they're entertained. Right? Joe? Oh, man. Okay. So this was sort of, we were sort of messing around with this. We said maybe there are 3 types of absentee leaders. This is fantasy, right? This is called psycho-fantasy. And with 3 types of leaders: feckless friend, the individual contributor and solipsist. The feckless friend, very pleasant and congenial, wants to get along with everyone, bland and inoffensive, makes no demands on anyone, avoids unpleasant performance discussions, doesn't give anybody negative feedback. His whole goal is to be popular. Never takes a stand, never confronts, never disrupts, just goes along to get along. And highly likable, put into the job by powerful others, no management experience, and, guess what? Picture didn't show up. Yep. What's supposed to be here is not, is a picture of George Bush. Oh, it's in here. Yeah. And you see him there smiling, that was him. Good job, Brownie, remember? Heck of a job, Brownie, after New Orleans drowned. Okay, then there's the individual contributor, good platform skills. He's all about himself. His whole job is just working on his own deal, and he's just ignoring his staff. What got me here will get me there. No sense of urgency, won't delegate, disregard staff input, concerned about his personal legacy. What you're supposed to see pictured here is a picture of Barack Obama, who he had 5 people that he talked to, and they ran the government. He didn't talk to anybody. He didn't know the names of his cabinet secretaries. He refused to leave his office. He absolutely refused to go to the Congress and talk to any of the powerful Congress. He said, I arrived in Washington a fully formed person. I don't need to talk to those people because they're not fully formed. Isn't that great? So, that's another. That was absentee leadership. He just sat there in his office. And then the third type, solipsist, good platform skills. Again, it's all about him or her. Politically, interpersonally insensitive, just completely self-absorbed and pushing their own agenda night and day. Unwilling to listen to feedback, unwilling to solicit any feedback, and the poster boy for that is your friend and mine. So he said, in conclusion, in summary, see, right on time. So I have a note to myself to apologize to you for focusing on this kind of dreary problem of absentee leadership, but I really believe there's no news and good news. If you can't acknowledge what's going wrong, you can't fix anything. So it's important to speak. And this absentee leadership is something everyone has ignored because it's hard to see. It's easy to talk about narcissists and paranoids, but so these derailing managers are easy to detect because they're just out there advertising. Absentee managers are hard to detect because they're deliberately staying sotto voce, they're staying below the radar. And they're concerned. It's not just that they stay below the radar. They actively suck up to their boss. They keep the boss happy. So they're going to be almost 100% high on dutiful. Their disengaged behavior destroys staff morale, creates significant financial drain within and across their organizations. But the big news is they accumulate because they're really hard to see. And they just pile up. They clog the veins and arteries of the organization. And finally, then, we are in the process of developing an absentee leadership assessment where we got some pretty interesting results with it. First coming to publications and then follow up. So there you go. That's our thing on absentee leadership. I hope you found that useful. Thanks for your attention. This is a quote from Scott Gregory. Which contributes throughout for us. Okay. Over to you.
Thank you, Archie. Actually, you are well ahead of schedule. So that means that Scott